shrouded in mystery. Born Amenhotep IV, the future Akhenaten entered a world steeped in tradition and ruled by the pharaoh Amenhotep III, his father. The young prince grew up surrounded by the splendor and power of the Egyptian court. His childhood, likely spent within the opulent palaces of Thebes, would have been a stark contrast to the radical changes he would later bring to Egypt. Little is known of his early years, but we can imagine a young prince absorbing the intricacies of Egyptian religion and the weight of his future role as pharaoh. His life, destined for greatness, would take an unexpected turn, leading him to challenge the very gods his forefathers had worshipped for centuries. As a prince, Amenhotep IV would have received an education befitting his status. He likely learned about Egyptian history, religion, and statecraft. He may have even participated in religious ceremonies, gaining a first-hand understanding of the complex rituals and beliefs that governed Egyptian life. These early experiences, while seemingly ordinary for a royal child, would later shape Akhenaten's radical departure from tradition. Upon the death of Amenhotep III, the throne passed to Amenhotep IV, who assumed the traditional role of pharaoh. During the early years of his reign, he appeared to follow the established customs and religious practices. He continued the grand building projects of his father, adding to the magnificent temples that dotted the Egyptian landscape. He made offerings to the gods, particularly Amun, the king of the gods, as expected of a pious ruler. However, beneath the surface of this seeming conformity, a storm was brewing, a storm that would soon engulf Egypt in a radical religious revolution. The young pharaoh's adherence to tradition, however, seems to have been a facade. Inscriptions and artifacts reveal a growing fascination with a lesser-known deity, the Aten, a god represented by the sun disk. The Aten, unlike the other anthropomorphic gods of the Egyptian pantheon, symbolized light, warmth, and life itself. This singular focus on the Aten, a god often associated with the sun god Ra, would become the cornerstone of Akhenaten's religious revolution, shaking the foundations of Egyptian society and forever changing the course of its history. In a dramatic departure from centuries of tradition, Amenhotep IV, now calling himself Akhenaten, meaning effective for the Aten, elevated the worship of the Aten to a level never seen before. He declared the Aten to be the one true God, the sole creator and sustainer of life. This new religion, centered on the worship of the sun disk, was a stark contrast to the polytheistic beliefs that had defined Egyptian religion for millennia. Akhenaten's proclamation was not merely a theological shift, it was a complete overhaul of the religious landscape, one that would have profound implications for Egyptian society. With the Aten as the supreme god, the traditional priesthoods, particularly that of Amun, were sidelined. Temples dedicated to other gods were closed, their wealth and power diverted to the burgeoning cult of the Aten. This abrupt shift in religious authority sent shockwaves through Egyptian society. The priesthood, long accustomed to power and influence, would not stand idly by as their world was upended. Akhenaten's religious revolution, while driven by a seemingly genuine belief in the Aten, had ignited a power struggle that would have far-reaching consequences. To solidify his religious reforms and distance himself from the traditional power base of the Amun priesthood in Thebes, Akhenaten ordered the construction of a new capital city. This city, known as Akhetaten, meaning horizon of the Aten, would be a testament to his new religion and a shining beacon of his vision for Egypt. Located at a site today known as Amarna, the city rose from the desert sands with astonishing speed, a testament to the pharaoh's ambition and the devotion he inspired in his iconic portrayals of the royal family. One of the most striking aspects of Amarna art is its depiction of Akhenaten himself. Unlike the idealized portrayals of previous pharaohs, Akhenaten is often shown with an elongated face, a protruding belly, and slender limbs. These unconventional features, far from being a sign of disrespect, may have been intended to convey a sense of his unique status as the Aten's chosen intermediary. The art of the Amarna period, with its emphasis on realism and emotional expression, stands as a testament to the profound cultural shifts taking place under Akhenaten's rule. The Wrath of Amun. Akhenaten's radical reforms and singular focus on the Aten came at a price. The traditional priesthood, particularly that of Amun, saw their power and influence diminish under the new religious order. Temples dedicated to other gods were neglected, and their priests were left with dwindling resources and authority. The resentment towards Akhenaten and his new religion festered, waiting for an opportunity to reassert their dominance. Beyond the priestly class, the common people of Egypt likely struggled to adapt to the abrupt religious changes. The worship of the Aten, while simple in its concept, lacked the tangible rituals and familiar deities that had provided comfort and meaning for generations. Akhenaten's insistence on the Aten as the sole god, while driven by sincere belief, alienated those accustomed to the rich tapestry of Egyptian mythology. The seeds of discontent, sown by Akhenaten's religious revolution, would eventually bear bitter fruit. The Restoration. Akhenaten's reign, marked by radical change and religious upheaval, was destined to be short-lived. The exact circumstances of his death remain unclear, but with his passing, the forces of tradition, long suppressed, reasserted themselves with a vengeance. His successor, the young Tutankhaten, later known as Tutankhamun, reversed Akhenaten's religious reforms, restoring the traditional gods to their former glory. Under Tutankhamun's rule, the temples of Amun and the other gods were reopened, their priests reinstated to their former positions of power. The city of Akhetaten, once a shining testament to Akhenaten's vision, was abandoned, its magnificent structures slowly crumbling under the desert sun. The Amarna period, a brief but brilliant interlude in Egyptian history, was consigned to the annals of time, its memory kept alive only in the scattered ruins and enigmatic artifacts that survived the ravages of time. A modern pharaoh. In the centuries following his death, Akhenaten's legacy was largely forgotten, his name erased from king lists and his monuments dismantled. However, the discovery of his abandoned capital at Amarna in the late 19th century sparked renewed interest in the heretic king. His story, once lost to the sands of time, captured the imagination of scholars and the public alike. Akhenaten's story resonated with modern audiences, who saw in him a visionary leader who dared to challenge the status quo. His emphasis on a single universal god, his embrace of artistic innovation, and his seemingly peaceful reign stood in stark contrast to the often brutal realities of ancient history. Akhenaten, once reviled as a heretic, was recast as a proto-monotheist, a philosopher king, and a champion of artistic expression. Echoes of Amarna. Akhenaten's reign, though brief, left an indelible mark on Egyptian history and culture. His religious revolution, though ultimately unsuccessful, challenged the very foundations of Egyptian society and forced a re-evaluation of long-held beliefs. The art of the Amarna period, with its naturalism and emotional depth, continues to influence artists and inspire awe in viewers today. Akhenaten's story is a reminder that even the most powerful empires are not immune to change. His legacy, once buried beneath the sands of time, continues to spark debate and inspire new interpretations. The heretic king, far from being a footnote in history, stands as a testament to the enduring power of ideas and the enduring allure of ancient Egypt.